Hello, everybody. We are live with our next edition of RobotiCon Live Online, Infinite Recharge Live Online. We got Brian Bautista with us today again, and we're actually going to visit the game design again, but we're going to hear from a couple of teams who are going to share their game designs with us. And if it looks practical, and I think it may, we'll play each of their games at the next RobotiCon that we do in person. I think that could be a lot of fun, and I hope we can do a lot more of these. What were your impressions, Brian, as this kind of wound down to the submission period? I know you were working with 1902, right?
Yes, I was working with 1902, and it was a bit nerve-wracking, figuring out everything, getting everything submitted, especially that we needed to make sure that hours we needed to submit by noon for making sure that we submitted it in time with enough time with our team lead. And you know it was just last minute scramble. We have to throw as much information into this as we can at this last moment and double check, triple check, quadruple check everything. And hey, we submitted it. I mean, the kids are proud of the game that they've made. So, hey, I mean, that's all I can ask for as a
Cool.
mentor is
Did they
making
enjoy
sure.
the process?
Oh, yeah, they
Yeah.
love the
Yeah. Did they
process.
enjoy the process? Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, we're gonna our first guest tonight is gonna be Dylan. We might have another student from his team. This is the Edgar Allan Ohms. I'm gonna put Dylan up here. Hello, Dylan.
Hello.
And he's
Hello.
with team 276, the Edgar Allan Ohms, which is headquartered here in Tampa at Amrock Fab Lab. And I see Dolly is joining us. I think she's trying to get her equipment going here, but we can start the conversation. I'm actually going to hop out and let you and Brian have a conversation, and I'll put Dolly in when she's ready, and they can tell you about their game, the process, and what their game is. And for the students that are joining us, your goal is to make your game sound easy to understand, so that other people listening can get what you're going for, and then explain the game as efficiently as possible. And if you've got visuals, we'll share those as well. But I'm going to hop out so you guys can have a conversation and people can see you better.
All right. Quick thing, Dylan. No pressure. I am a judge officially for the game design challenge.
Right.
No pressure.
All right. So the thing we wanted to do most with our game was we wanted audience viewability because I grew up, like my brother was in FRC around 2014 to 2016. So I grew up watching Aerial Assist and Recycle Rush. So I wanted to we all kind of came to a consensus that we want a game that's a lot easier to understand from a non-first or non-a team member perspective. Like, I think one that we liked to draw from was Power Up, or actually no, Steamworks. We thought that game did it very well, and it was easy to see what was happening if you didn't understand the game. Uh, so our game is it is to shoot. I'm sorry. I have to collect my thoughts for a second.
Oh no, that's fine. Take a moment. Sometimes we're not ready to collect our thoughts and blurt it out just yet.
So this game is all about patching dams. It's
Okay.
so it originally we had it as flags, and it was a bit of a stretch with how we were designing it. We wanted basically to have flags to. Okay, let me
No, that's
start with
fine.
the theme. So the theme was that First City, the dams are it's flooded, and our original idea was we have flags that you had to place in these holes. It was very hard design to really justify why you were doing that. So we replaced it with these things called reinforcements, which are essentially patches for the dam. So once you put in the patches, you have to pull the chain to activate the pumps to fill the dam back up.
Mm-hmm. So, just to go through and help understand what's going on. So, First City is currently flooded at this rate. And you have to use the reinforcements to go through to patch the dam and pump the water out of First City and behind the dam once again where it belongs. Okay, awesome. Yeah. I'm with you. I got you. I'm up to that point.
Okay.
And you're using the chain to put the reinforcements in specific locations on the dam, I'm assuming?
No, the chain is being used to activate the pump. So basically once the reinforcements are so earlier on in development we had the flags just be set in some random place, which is I guess like to signify where here's the escape route from First City. And hey, Dahlia's here.
Dahlia's here.
Hi.
But we changed it recently to be reinforcements, so the slots that light up, those are the ones that are like leaking or at risk of leaking. So that's where the reinforcements go, and then once they're all filled up or as filled up as they can be, then you pull the chain, the water gets pumped back up. So that's the way that the chain's being used currently.
Okay, I like this. And so are there multiple positions on the dam that are like, let's say, fractured or leaking versus ones that aren't?
Yes. Okay, so on the dam there are 12 spaces that could possibly be leaking.
Okay.
And at one time 6 of them will light up to show that they are like at risk of leaking or they are leaking, yeah.
Okay.
So then each team starts with 3 reinforcements to put in these holes.
So, I was just about to ask, do either of you have a field diagram or something that we could see that's a little bit more tangible so that we could see where your thought process is?
I do actually have the Fusion 360 CAD model open right now.
As the current runner of the computer-aided design challenge, of the CAD challenge here for ROBOTICON, CAD for field designs is absolutely amazing. They're very useful, very helpful.
Yeah. So, Dahlia, do you want to speak to a little bit of the process? Because you were helping out with that while Dylan's tracking down the design here. There he is.
So, just explain the process, or?
Well, yeah. What was because you guys did a little bit of a change. The game never changed, but your story did.
Yeah. So after the first meeting, when I came here earlier, we realized that we kind of needed a story. That might have been a little bit important. So we decided to add the story. I don't know. I was in part of the game design meeting when they were doing that, not the whole time. But basically what we decided was to change the story a little bit. Because our original story, I'm not sure if Dylan covered this earlier, but our original story was basically like there were flags and you can see the flags. Like, for example, where the holes are. Well, I mean, this Dylan. Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous.
You got this.
So there are flags, and when you see the flags, you kind of, those are like telling you where the holes were, but then we realized that didn't really make sense. So basically we use a stick instead, if you can see that on the side of the CAD, the stick over there. And that's basically what's going to patch up those holes. And then once those holes are all patched up, and it's like as if, blocking the water from leaving the dam. So then it's like that's the robot's task, and each time they're passed up, the holes change. And then the end game, basically, the robot uses the material they use to patch up the holes to lift off, and it's kind of to like protect themselves from the dam, like it's going to flood anyway. I mean, like kind of like in real world, not everything is going to be solved straight away. It's like the people end up getting saved and the robot ends up lifting itself off of the ground. But at the same time, it's like not all you couldn't patch up everything.
Yeah. So, I see you guys have the truss implement here. Are the hooks? They're one moment.
You want me to explain how the hooks work?
Yes.
Okay.
Explain how the hooks work.
So,
Thank you.
The attachment on the side, it's kind of like a stick, and the robot will be lifting up that stick and supporting it on two hooks and lifting itself off. So rather than the robot holding the hooks, it's holding the stick, which is on the hooks.
Oh, okay. So using the game piece as not just one implement, but multiple multiple uses throughout the field. Okay, I like this. And question that I have, when it comes to visually being able to understand the game that is going on, is there an easy way for the audience to be able to understand without looking at the scoreboard who is winning at what point inside of the game?
Yeah, that actually is something we thought about. It's not really represented in this CAD model.
Yeah.
We were planning on having some sort of display like on the side of the field, or like some kind of tower that lights up to show how many successful submissions or pulling of the chains the team has had.
Okay.
So that part we probably should like iron out a little bit more, but we do have some idea of that. And actually, let me. Yeah, so there'll be some kind of meter showing the current score, or better show who's winning.
Yeah, it's going to be similar to the center of the airship in 2017, where as the kilopascals increased inside of the boiler, the center stack that was filling with steam would progressively go higher and higher. So, okay, yeah, no, that's a pretty smart implement to go through and try and use to remember and to just have a good visual. Because even as people who have been in first for many years, and people who are looking at a game for the first time, if to correct myself a bit here, I believe that Scott 2 weeks ago said it best when he went to see one of the games in Orlando. I believe it was 2015 that he was talking about. He did not know. He had heard one thing about the game, and he talked to some people to help him with programming, but he had not seen anything about the game at all, anything to do, didn't know what was going on. And he's a pretty prime example of a long-time first participant in general, and he didn't know what was going on the field. And I think that's imperative in first, is being able to understand what's going on.
And when they had described it to me, when they were putting this together, the meter idea made sense to me, right? So you'd visually see this meter of progress of the either the dam being sealed or the water being stopped or those kinds of things. Let me remove him from the stream for a minute. And so that the whole being able to see what was going on, understand it, know that this team is ahead, or this is happening, and probably visually, if you set up the field, you could make it look more like a dam, right? You could do things to sort of give that impression.
Okay.
I think that would be really, really cool. So one of the things that when I think I see a student from Exploding Bacon on here too. We'll pull them up here in a second. But one of the things that was I thought was really one of the most fascinating here was when you guys first came up with the idea. It was Flag Frenzy or something like that. And you were using the flags. You talked about that a little bit. And somewhere in there was actually a typo, or somebody had written in flood frenzy because the robots were pulling themselves up. And so there was obviously, you guys had some conversations and some things had gone around. But to me, what was the most fascinating on this was exactly what we talked about 2 weeks ago, was it how important the story was. And when the story was about where, playing basically capture the flag and moving flags around, that was okay. But then when you took that exact same game and changed the story and said, okay, instead of flags, we're plugging this dam, and we're running around, we're doing the same thing, but now there's an end goal, right? The end goal is to stop this dam from breaking. Exactly the same game, exactly the same motions, exactly the same challenges for the people playing the game, but the energy behind an end goal, right? That's related to the storyline. And it's a simple storyline. There's not, it's not really an elaborate story. I just thought that was really interesting, and to me, it was really fascinating to see how just changing the story on an identical game, changed the impact of the game. So I just thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, for sure. I just so you know, I do have 2 more students that are going to be joining us in a bit. I didn't tell them to join up because I didn't think everybody's going to be ready at 6:30 on the dot, so I told them to join up around 6:20.
That's good.
One of them being a little overachiever over here. Hi, Kevin. But yeah, no, I like how you guys went through. First, originally came up with a game and said, it's not jiving yet. And that's the good thing. You want to be able to start off with something and almost as if you're throwing ideas at the wall and trying to find what sticks in the pre-planning phase, trying to figure out just before you get all inside it, before you get really into the nitty-gritty of the game design. And once you're there, and once you find out what game you want to do, then it's all just steamrolling through. But going through from what you originally had, like flags, it's not really there yet, then just tweaking it a little bit as you go to get to what the right game is. That is a really good thought process. And it's the kind of thought process that you need when looking at, like, when being a game designer in general, because I mean, the team and I, when we did the CAD challenge, that's the same exact thing that we did. It started off with Robot Connect 4, and it was like, that's not going to work out really well, all the way until it was, you know what, let's do shipping and processing packages instead. So it's a really good theory, it's a really good process, and I am all for it, and I am a stan of it, as we say nowadays.
Thank you for your support.
Oh no, you're very welcome. What did you guys get to see which group you wound up in yet for game design? I know that they published that. It's on there's Chief Delphi thread that has the list of the groups for skills challenge, game design challenge, and innovation. Holy cow! Innovation. I completely forgot.
Yeah.
But yes, the groupings are out there tentative at this point, just in case something happens.
Okay. Where would students find that?
Currently, there is a post on Chief Delphi. There's a thread on the Chief Delphi that has that posted there. I can.
Well, if a student or if somebody finds it while we're chatting, I'll hop off here so you can bring the other students on. I'll go look, and we'll try and throw it in chat. Okay.
Did all 3 of them join already?
I see one.
Okay,
I see
one.
Kevin. Yeah.
Let me go through and just send them a quick message so that they're ready.
Did you guys have any other impressions about doing the game design? I mean, that's the first time you guys like to play games. You guys are playing games all the time, so I think that was interesting. You designed all those games for ROBOTICON, and when you're not doing robot games, they're at the table playing card games. So
yeah.
Human element was really hard to find how to put in, because in a way that didn't feel shoehorned. because like originally our first idea for game design was that you would assemble a flag, like and like you put that on the field, and well, once you do that, the game human element's done. You don't, and that could also lead to some problems like what if you assemble the flag wrong, and now there's pieces of flag in our robot. So that was really
Whoops.
a piece of cloth is caught in our gearbox,
Yeah.
shredding the flag. So the one we came to was that once a robot pulls that chain, it basically it has to be reset by the human element. And so we thought, oh, what if we had to like turn a crank? So that's something that's pretty involved for human element to do.
Yeah.
Nobody liked my idea. I thought the human element should be the one at the end throwing boulders from the broken dam at the robot that's trying to lift themselves off the field. I got kind of downvoted on that. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah.
I might do it here. I might at Roboticon. You will see me throwing foam boulders at your robots. Okay. Yeah. And if you don't lift up in time,
16.
If you don't lift up enough in time, you lose points if a boulder hits you. See, I think that's a realistic scenario as the dam breaks.
Yeah.
Oh my Jesus. One thing that I wanted to ask really quick about the game. So I see one thing that I did notice is that you do have a good skill floor. You have that great where any robot that has any apparatus on it can go through and play this game. Did you think about things for the upper echelon to get, because when it comes to the different tiers of robots in first, the base tier where we normally place rookies, because sometimes rookies aren't like that ready in the engineering mindset and have that inspired thought process yet from the many years of being in the organization, they will come up with very easy, quick apparati. But when it comes to teams like 254, well, let's not even say 254. Let's bring it down a little bit to the more mid-tier levels, like 1369, like you guys, the Edgar Allan Ohms, like 1902. It's there, the creativity comes in there, and it's like, oh, we can use these different components inside of a different way to go through and make our elements a little bit more engineering firm, engineering forward, and a little bit more complex. So what is it that you gave those people to go through and actually really think on?
So with our game, there's a lot of things to do, mostly with the placing the reinforcements in the specific holes, because there's 12 holes, and at most there's 6 flags on one side at any time, because there's only 6 flags on the field. So, and we designed it to have 12 holes so that you can have a unique hole pattern every single time. So for I guess the upper echelon of teams would be having like the most efficient way of picking up flags, moving, and then putting it down.
So am I correct in understanding that everything has like that the placements will change throughout the match?
They will. Every single time you pull the chain and submit the flag setup, that it will go through and create a new pattern based off of, like, with that information you can tell how many flags are on that side, and so you can have it so you have to move every single flag. You can have it so that you don't have the same repeating pattern.
Also, sorry. No.
Go on ahead. I was actually just about to come to you and ask you about some stuff, but no, go on ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, the way the game is set up, I mean, it's like the higher level you are is always going to be more convenient, because there's a whole bunch of basic tasks that the robot must complete, but at the same time, these tasks, if there's more efficient system that can be easily improved on and can like speed and strategy and stuff. So when higher teams have that down, it's like they're all obviously going to be way better at the game. But while also beginner teams and intermediate teams can also still participate in this game easily without having anything too complicated. And it's like also our end game is like most of everything in the game has very similar functions, so you can use the same attachment for 2 different tasks. So it's really easy for beginner teams and intermediate teams to start off, as well as advanced teams to improve quickly.
Okay. No, I like the roundness of the game. I like how instead of pushing the game away from the lower skill teams, bringing it down to the lower skill teams so that they have more of that sense of completion and oneness with their design, and essentially being able to say, my robot was able to compete in this game as expected and as intended.
But there's always like a more efficient way to do it, so that they're really for higher teams. The challenge is how do you make that the most optimized and most efficient bot to play this game.
Yeah. No, I like this. I like this setup, and I can't wait to see how well you guys do in the actual presentation portion of this.
They got practice to do. We can see that.
Okay.
Are getting there, though. You guys got it.
There.
Yeah. That's what these things are for. That's what these live streams are for, too, is to give you that opportunity to sort of, talk about it and to look at the parts that people are interested in. Obviously, I mean, my thing was it's really easy for volunteers. It's a simple game setup. I mean, Scott made a noise about you guys using truss. When we showed it to him, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a truss. We can play around with some things on that. But that idea that it is only one, right? You set it up one time, and then that's everything else is field reset is simple, right? It's lights, it's flags or posts, so it's pretty good. You got a funky light there, Dylan.
Oh yeah, that's
the screen on his face.
Yeah, that's just my monitor because it's a big monitor.
Yeah,
I got it. That's funny. But I see we got a couple of other students on here. They don't have their cameras on yet. So when they turn their cameras on, we can bring them into the conversation. But for the time being, I'm going to pull Dylan and Dahlia out. You can stay in his studio because we might have a further chat. You can listen in on the conversation. But thank you. That was great. It's really fun to have seen it come all together here. And you guys did a great job on it.
It was fun talking.
Yeah.
All right.
No, it was great.
Hang around. And so who we got with us here tonight?
So
the cameras on?
From 1902, I don't know if 2 of the students were ready for their cameras to be on necessarily.
We're going to be on. Give them a heads up because I'm going to put them in the stream in a minute.
Jesus.
It's Kevin and I don't know.
I have Kevin, Ashrith, and Neil joining me.
All right.
These are the 3 most
and somebody doesn't have their camera on yet, so.
Oh, that's probably...
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Oh. I think you guys are muted because I can't hear you.
You would be correct.
Hi.
Hello there.
I'm going to step out. I'm going to greet you guys. I'm going to step out and let you guys have a conversation.
All right.
Welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
So to go through and give a quick, proper introduction, let's go through and introduce who each of you are.
Mm-hmm. I'm Kevin. I'm from 1902. I'm a senior on the team, and I have helped greatly with this game design project.
Hi, my name is Ashrith. I'm a junior on 1902, and I've been a part of the team for 2 years now.
Hi, my name is Neil. I'm the Hoff lead in training. I'm the Hoff lead in training on the team. I'm part of the mechanical strategy and outreach sub-teams, and I've been part of the team for 2 years.
All right, this is the team, and yes, it's a bit interesting saying that I am their mentor, but little do they know, these guys have never actually come together yet to go through and prepare for this for this sequence, and I'm not even fully trained judge yet, but I want to see how they'll do
Hey,
comparatively.
I'm just popping in to tell you that I coach the Ohms and I'm a mentor with them, and I threw them
That
into
is
this.
true.
It was a last minute thing, and I said, "Hey, who can be on tonight?" So, so it's fair treatment. You're all getting treated this way. I just wanted you to know it was it wasn't just you. We it's equal.
That is true.
Yeah, it's equal opportunity picking. So
Hey.
back to your regularly scheduled programming.
All right, guys. So let's go through and see who wants to go through and start off with the introduction of the game.
I will. Let me. Can I share screens of the field? Is that something I can do?
I believe you can share screens of the field.
All right.
Let's see what happens.
Let's see. All right. I believe you can see my shared screen here.
There it
I'll make
is.
this full screen. Oh,
Even
Windows,
better. Don't you love it?
All right. So this is Buccaneers Bounty. This is the group of people, along with many other wonderful students and mentors on 1902 that we have created. In Buccaneers Bounty, there are 2 alliances on opposing ships that are locked in combat at sea. Teams can pick up cannonballs and fire at the enemy ship to gain points and damage the hull until they rupture it, in which they can get a ranking point. You can play kind of defense by scoring boards onto your own goals to repair your ship and help make it harder against your opponents to score into goals at the top. And once you have breached your opponent's ship, you can drive onto their ship and steal their treasure, come back, and then climb on your rigging for endgame.
Yeah, so as Kevin mentioned, this game takes place between 2 ships, and some of the most notable field elements that, are a big part of the game are the truss in the center, which contains the sail. We call it the yarder.
The yardum.
Yeah. That contains the 3 goals, as you can see on Kevin's screen, for each alliance. Those are called the sails. We also have the planks, which are similar to the Stronghold's secret passage, and each alliance has their own specific plank that they can use to cross over onto the other alliance's field. There's also a rule that only one robot can go onto the other field to avoid, battle bots on the field. We also have the upper decks, which are a 1.5 by 1.5 by 125 inch extrusion, I guess you could say, at the very end. This is similar to 2019's game, I believe, with the habitats. And this is the robot's starting position. And then finally, we have the rigging, which is the climbable element that we incorporated with the chain, which you can see on Kevin's screen right there. That piece of chain that robots need to climb for endgame to get more points. And yeah.
We'll pass it over to Neil to explain what the expected robot actions will be.
Yeah, so the description of the expected robot actions, pretty much the robots utilize game pieces that I'm going to list. So pretty much the robots deploy from the upper deck, and they drive off the upper deck and fully cross the quarter deck. And once they cross the quarter deck, the robots and bumpers are fully across, not partially contained within the quarter deck. Once they pick up and control cannonballs, once they pick up and control cannonballs, boards, and the treasure, they will intake, control, and shoot 8.5 inch dodgeballs. Intake, rotate, and place 22-inch long segments of 2x4 approximately 98 degrees off the ground, and acquire the FP 243 totes. So once they drop the fire cannonballs from the firing deck into the opposing alliance's sails and hulls, they'll shoot the cannonballs from their alliance's firing deck into the opposing alliance's sail, which will damage their hull and make them gain points. The next way that the robots are going to interact with the field are climbing the rigging, and during the end game, the robots must climb the rigging, which is the chain provided to every FRC team in the KOP for 2021. And once they climb onto the upper or lower decks to receive the cannonballs, they will reach across the ocean to obtain cannonballs to use to fire against the opposing alliance's ship.
Hope we threw enough data at you guys.
So, one thing that stepping out of the 1902 mentor position and stepping into the judging position, I didn't hear an explanation of what the point of the totes were in general.
So the totes are effectively treasure that each ship possesses. So as mentioned before, teams can shoot cannonballs from the firing decks into the goals on the other side of the field. And once you score enough cannonballs into those goals or the zone on the ground where rookies can drop cannonballs, you don't have to shoot the balls. So that every robot, no matter what you're mechanically capable of, can breach or rupture the ships. Once you rupture the ship during endgame, you can drive onto the opposing alliance's ship, take the treasure, return back to your upper decks where you start off in the match, and then you can get a boatload of points for that.
All right, I like this. It's hard to ask questions about a game that you already know about, you know? So I'll do a question that I asked of Edgar Allan Holmes before. What are we planning to go through and do to make this game seem a little bit more visually easy to read? Because me as a longtime firster and others as longtime firsters like the ability to be able to know what's going on and who's doing what on the field, and or essentially who's winning the match just by being able to take a look at it. So that's one thing that I want to see if you guys have figured that out.
Sorry for speaking too soon. I've thought about this personally. Kind of similar to 2016, how the castle had the LED strips on the side. You can very easily incorporate that onto the trusses where the goals are mounted to. You can either do it along the top or on the sides, so that from anywhere in any orientation that you can see those trusses, you can see how close you are to rupturing the ship.
Okay. I like this. That's a good idea. Now, one thing that Terry was also able to mention on the curtail and that I forgot about mentioning, what are we looking as per ease of, like...
That's why I hopped in.
Yeah. If you wish, you could ask the question, actually. I'll let you ask the question.
Yeah, so when I'm looking at this, I'm going to pop your design back up and we'll all squish over on the side. So it looks like you got a lot of different things. You got two sets of trusses, right? You've got like hoppers and things on the side, and then the ramps, which I assume are made out of that mysterious material that First always uses for ramps and things. What are you anticipating in terms of field setup? So looks like most things are static on there, right? Looks like your game elements have to be reset each time.
Asherith, can you take this question?
Yeah, sure. In terms of the game elements, it's really just the cannonballs and the totes that are being moved around. Everything else just stays there, like the sails obviously aren't going to move. We do have a concept of hot goals, but that doesn't require any actual movement, just LEDs lighting up, in a sense.
Okay, that's good. That was a good image.
Yep, similar to 2019, where you had to reset cargo and hatch panels. Each of the human player stations have 3 slots, 1 or 2 for boards off to the sides for symmetrical reasons, and then 1 big container in the center for just throwing cannonballs into.
Okay. Very cool.
And same thing with the center of the field. These are angled inwards to help cannonballs settle in properly. And then totes will have to manually be done each time, similar to the cube stacks in 2018 in front of the switches.
Yeah, but a lot less cubes, which will be, because if I remember 2018, there was 10. No, there was more than 10. There was 15 cubes on the field that had to be reset per alliance every single time, because you had the cube stack of 9 at the one side, and then you had the I want to say it was like no, it was actually 8 cubes along the other side of the switch, and you had that on both sides. So seeing that it's just put and putting the cannonballs inside of the ocean, and they're going to settle in because they're rammed inwards, and just putting the treasure inside of that one spot. I mean, it seems really easy. And also, one thing that I just currently thought of, it's out of the way of robots that are coming into the field. That is an issue that I've seen time and time again, especially as a master of ceremonies and first. There is so much chaos going on a field during those first 2 minutes, just before, like just after that match ended. You have robots coming off the field, you have volunteers field resetting, you have robots that are coming onto the field. It's just, there's so much going on that it turns into a very tight spot if there's a lot of things to do, and if there's a lot of things in the way, like similar to 2019, where you had the cargo ship and the rockets in the way. You had people all around the cargo ships, and then you had people on the hab, and there was not much space in between the cargo ship and hab when you throw 3 teams worth of people and drive team onto a field at one time. So I do like that. So I believe we touched on this question on the audience to tell what is happening. You said that you wanted to go through and add the LEDs along the side or along the yardum itself, or the sides of the truss, which I do think that that's a good idea. That's a great way to just have something there to be able to, as a ticker almost, to go through and keep track of that. Let's see, what's another question that I could come up for this game?
Something that we as a team distinguished as a problem in First history is that First has never really liked how, or at least the way I've seen them try and handle this in past years, is they've never really liked teams playing defense on each other. Just seeing, 3 red robots on 3 blue robots, there's just a lot of jamming, there's just a lot of ramming, there's a lot of danger there.
That is true.
And something that we all agreed upon was we wanted to introduce a new way of defending without having robot-on-robot contact. Asherith, can you explain how we did this with the boards?
Yeah, it's like a sort of active defense where you don't, as Kevin said, have to ram into each other. So another one of the game pieces which I mentioned are these boards, which kind of give armor or give back health points to your ship in a way. You can get these from the human player station, or they're, as Kevin shows, these Velcro boards that you can put up to add points to your ship. So in a way, you're limiting your opponent's scoring capabilities while also proactively doing anything, which is also a great thing for rookie teams that might not be able to hit the shots that all teams can. So once again, including everyone into the action.
Yeah. No, I completely forgot to ask that question to the to the Ohms, and I'm sure I'll ask them that in a couple of moments after this. But the form of active defense versus passive defense is a thing that has been needed to get handled for many years. I mean, 2014 probably had the largest example of direct defense being played against other against the opposing alliances. That so much so that they imposed a rule known as high-speed ramming, where if your robot was moving over a certain speed and collided with another robot, you were tech fouled back then. So no, I like this, and it's also a good and fresh twist on 2016. It takes what 2016 did, where there was the defense line where you had to go through and breach the defenses to go through and capture the tower. It does this in a more interesting manner, where instead of just having that set number that first gives us, like this is the number of shots that each ship needs to take in every single match in order to be able to achieve something. No, now the students and the teams have an influence on how many shots need to be taken each match. Which, what's the health point ratio to, like, how many boards do I need to put up to get up 1 point of health?
I believe it's 1 board for 1 health.
So
it's roughly 6 health total that you can get from the boards.
That's gonna be a lot. That's major. That's the difference between like having your game. That's the difference between having your ship be boarded and having your treasure taken to having it taken and not having it taken. That's a huge difference. I like that.
I'm playing around here. We never really put that many people on a live stream using StreamYard before, so we're gonna play here. I'm gonna bring we're gonna have a Brady Bunch thing going here. I'm gonna bring Dylan and Dahlia on, and I think it's really interesting because what I see is like I love the variety, right? I mean, you go from this minimalist design to this more, richer design, and they're both fun-sounding games, and there are two different approaches to things. And these are just 2 examples, right?
Yeah.
Of all the games that are being done. So let's see what this looks like here. Oh, look at everybody!
Hey,
hey,
it's almost the Brady Bunch.
Almost. We need 2 more people on here, So we should all be looking around at each other. But I'll hop out so it's got a little more symmetry. It's bothering me now because all Dahlia's down there by herself.
I like it down here. It's fine.
That's awesome. But anyway, I'd like to hear what you thought of each other's games, and if you got any ideas from seeing each other's games. I'm really curious to hear what you thought. I'm going to leave Brian in the middle here. Let's see what happens when I leave.
Oh.
Hi.
Hey, a nice 6.
So looking at your game made me realize the way our field's currently set up, there's no real easy way to get the robots in or off of the field.
Yeah, that's something that I just noticed as well.
It's kind of just like there's trussing, then there's the dam. It's just that's definitely something we have to work on as well. As I don't know, could you like extend the field at all? Is that like something that's allowed?
The field design manual does say you can expand the field beyond what it is currently. We personally tried to avoid that because First already has this uniform field size they use every year, and we tried to change as a little of that pre-made field as possible to keep it as cheap as possible. That was one of our goals, since we're in a global pandemic and everyone's struggling on money, is that you could build this field for as cheap as possible, ideally.
Yeah. So I guess we would just have to do like some redesigning for the dam to like, I don't know, get it so there's a very clear, they like their flow of robots going onto the field, robots going out, and we want there to be a significant flow. And
yeah.
I personally got home maybe 10 minutes before this because I was at work for 10 hours. Can you reshare screen so I can see your field?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. I think someone's behind the stream is going to have to make it so we can see your screen again. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
You fusion, I like it.
Yeah. So it's... Yeah, so as you can see, so these little rings, these are the dam. It's a pretty rough CAD right now, but these rings are the dam, or the holes that this reinforcement go into. So in reality, these would be like some kind of like box that this would go into. But if they're a box, then where does the robot enter into? Do you have to like awkwardly step? That's just that.
Yeah, it's just less than ideal when carrying a 160-pound robot.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dylan, do you think you could zoom in just a tad bit on Fusion?
Oh,
There we go. I like that. One thing that I'll mention that helped us as 1902 out a bit. If you saw I linked it in the last conversation, and Dahlia was there for that. There was the activity sheet that First had put out. And on that activity sheet, they actually had the links to their Andy Mark Field CAD. So one thing that helped us with really visualizing the scale of our game in comparison was that the trusses were already imported inside of there. Everything that First uses from year to year inside of a game that's already just sitting inside their warehouse over in headquarters in New Hampshire, they had it on that field. They even had like the special clamps that are called Cheeseboro clamps. My students know that I love those things, by the way, just because of their name. So they have the Cheeseboro clamps. They have everything down there to the T. So if you want, I can go through and find that link again, and then I'll share it for you guys so that you guys can go through and see, because that was really handy for us. And it was, even though the 3 alliance stations were still there and they were just kind of just thrown inside of there, you could still manipulate them and move them over like we did inside of our design here. And it'll help so that you don't have to CAD an entire field and take the time to CAD the whole field. You can just CAD the elements of the field and put them on there.
Okay.
Something I'm willing to do is I've already gone through and saved all the parts as Inventor files, and because Fusion is made by Autodesk, which Inventor was also made by, I can just send you those parts, and you won't have to export them and save them as each individual file. You can just open them as Inventor parts because Fusion and Inventor open the same files. So if you can slide me your email, I can email that to you after this.
Sure.
Okay, great. Is there live now? Gracious professionalism. Hey, look at that. If there are there any other questions that you guys have between each other? Because this is one thing that I would like to see. Like, is there anything that 1902 has for Edgar Allan Holmes and vice versa? Like, I know that 1902 didn't get to see much of Edgar Allan Holmes, you guys' game beforehand, but seeing the field now, any ideas popping up or anything from what you guys saw from their presentation?
Coming from someone who's been doing strategy in FRC for like 4 or 5 years, I personally would like to see a little bit more than just here's some tasks to do and do them. Power Up was similar, but they had the vault to help with the strategic complexity of the game, and I think that something, there could be an extra level of strategy to the game, and that could make it really cool. That's about my only comment on the game. Otherwise, I like where it's heading.
And also, to go through and further reinforce what Kevin is saying, you guys were having that discussion before when we were talking earlier about the human player aspect of the game and not just having it feel like it's thrown inside of there. Putting in that 2018 element of the vault, and it doesn't have to be something like that. Going through and adding that inside of there could be a great way to take that game from where you guys are now to that next level tier and just like big brain complexity.
Okay. And what was the human player element again on the Bacon game? Yeah, what was that again?
I am currently sharing my screens again.
Okay, hang on a second. I'll pull myself.
Yeah. The human player for this game is kind of like the human players in 2016, 15, and 17. It's really just they help put the boards and the cannonballs into the field. We played around with the idea early on. I'm not sure what happened to this idea, but human players could throw cannonballs from behind the gyro station, like how 2015 Noodles were, and try and score them into the same goals robots would. I know someone mentioned that early on, but
Yeah. What happened to that idea?
I know. I
we
believe
ditched
that
it
was.
That might
I'm
have
so
just
sorry.
that might have just fell through the sieve of just
So I can.
Yeah.
I'm still volunteering to throw things at any game. I'm still want to do my foam boulders. But I was going to say too, one of the things that was really interesting, and it happened with the ohms as well, right? Is everybody's collaborating, you're sharing documents and stuff, and an element gets lost, right? Or changed, or something happens, and I'm sure that has actual game development as well as people are, talking about all these different ideas, and some cool idea somewhere gets passed along. Everybody goes, "Oh, that's awesome," and then it just like, where'd it go?
yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows how many times that happened with the previous FRC game where the game design committee is like watching the game animation is like, oh, we forgot to talk about that, and that was something that we really thought was going to be good, and then it's just
Or you end up with an
grapevine.
element in there, you don't know why it ended up in there, right? That's the flip
There's
side of it.
other side of the coin.
Like, I still want to know why there were pool noodles. I'm sorry, I like my storylines to hold together somehow.
Yeah.
And I
Pool
think
noodles
that's
were very
important.
flimsy in
And
that
it's like,
storyline.
and Dylan had talked about that, right? So, how do you make the chain element into, or that element or that part of the human player involvement make sense, right? And not just be this like, oh, let's just give them this thing to do.
Yeah.
Make it integral to the story and into the rest of the game. So,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this was great. I really enjoyed this. I can't wait to see these games come to life. So what are next steps after they've all submitted, Brian? Everybody's waiting now on what?
So now it's just preparation for your presentation. Tips that I'll give to that that I saw 1902 was able to do well, that I would love to see the ohms do as well. Let's go through, plan out who wants to say what. So between Dylan and Dahlia, that would be great to go through and see you guys go through and like have that sort of quick transition between each other and have that pre-established before you go into your interviews, because that is going to set you up there. Just having like, okay, I'm going to talk about this part, you talk about this part, and the third person, because you're allowed up to 5 students inside of your interview and 1 mentor. So if you, and I don't think you have to have 5, you can have as up to 5. So going through, figuring that out is great. 1902, you guys did well on that respect. It's mostly things that can't be fixed now on because of submission. One thing that I did see that it would have been cool to go through and interact with and have figured out is finding a way to make it super easy that I don't have to look at the scoreboard to go through and figure out who's winning the match as per numbers. I mean, when it comes to penalties, that's a totally different story. But when it comes to being able to see on the field who's doing what, and I'm actually I'm going to go through and mention a conversation that I had with George Wallace from 180 about this to show an example of a great way to show what's going on the field. So what 180 did for their game, they have 6 sections of the field. They divided it in half lengthwise, so along the 54-foot length of the field. So they divided the 227 feet in half, and they put 3 different they put 3 individual sections with climbing tower inside of the center, and in all 6 sections there was a pedestal in which you would place a relic. So it's more of a game meets Indiana Jones. Each of those zones had an LED routing that they made to signify who controls what zone and what zone was trapped because there was a relic on the pedestal. So that no matter where you were inside of the arena, you looked down at the field and said, oh, look, Red Alliance owns 3 zones, has all 3 of their zones, and 2 of them are trapped. And the Blue Alliance owns 1 of their zones, and that one, and only that one is trapped. You can see the gambit right there visually from that kind of thing. And that's one thing that I'll commend 180, who's sadly not here, but that is a really good example of being able to show how to look at the field and know what's going on in the game. And where, if you, like, let's say I'm just randomly walking into the arena and I'm like, okay, well, there are more lights on one side than the other side. I'm assuming the side that has the more lights is the one that's winning. Which, if First wants to be able to go through and take themselves from being what I call America's best kept secret, it needs to be more visually friendly for people from the outside in. And I think that Ohms, you guys did great with that idea on making sure having the posts and being able to have each one of them light up and change throughout the match, being able to see, oh, there's 6 lights on this side, but only 3 of them are filled up, and then there's 6 lights on this side and only 4 of them are filled up. It's easy to see that. But from here on, it's just figure out what your story is, which you guys did that well. 1902, we got to work on that. We didn't really explain the story of Pirates Plunder a bit, where it was, well, we did, but
yeah,
we should
Pirates
do it a little
Plunder,
bit better.
Brian?
Not Pirates Plunder, Buccaneers Bounty. I'm sorry, I was thinking about the other 1902 game.
That wasn't our game.
That wasn't our game?
That was Inspire NC3. That's the one me and Matthew participated in.
Too many CAD challenges, too many everything, all right? I've been in here for 10 years. I had too many games going on inside of my head at one time. So
Complain. Okay.
Thanks, Terry. But yeah, no. Both sides, you guys did great for an off the cuff. Here you go. Let's do this as if you guys were doing a presentation.
And you were the only 2 who are here. So if at all possible, we will play both of these games in some way, even if it's just a quarter of a field or something. On at the next Roboticon. I think that would be really fun. So. That's the other thing too. Can you pack up these games and play them easily? Can you do these as a scrimmage easily? How hard is it for somebody to cobble this together? At a school anywhere. So yeah. I think those are all good points. So very, very cool. Thank you guys. This was absolutely terrific. I really, really enjoyed this. I think maybe what we'll do for the next one is we'll do it with the innovation challenge too. Let's see what people's innovation challenges look like, and what have you come up with? What kind of solutions have you come up with, and who have you talked to, and all that kind of stuff. I think this is a lot of fun. We work with the high tech corridor, and I'll try and get the high tech corridor back on to listen to some of your innovations and get their thoughts on them. So this was cool. So you guys want to see a game design? Like, it'd be hard to do this every year. First is going to be inundated with games. They'll have to just disband their own game design committee because now they've got like hundreds of thousands of teams just giving them game designs all the time. So, do you think they'll keep it?
I mean, I hope that they keep it, but I don't know if they will necessarily, because I feel like they're going to get such an influx of great ideas from this year that they're going to be set for the next 10 years of First.
Probably, yeah. But that doesn't mean we can't play them. That doesn't mean these don't become skills games and ways to practice and to create things. And I think it's awesome, and that was sort of behind what we did with the next challenge, right? Creating these opportunities to just build your own games, and that's its own exercise. So that was great.
Which, for any of you who are seniors, the next challenge is great way to go through and take your ideas and combine FRC and FTC into one section and put it on what's the size of the field in next? 12 by
24
24.
by 12?
I thought it was 12. I thought it was 24 by 24. Might be 12. I have to go back and look. It's a little bit bigger. I think it was a double FTC field.
So then
So
that'd
I
be
think
12 by 24.
Yeah, I think that's
You're
what
right.
we did.
You're right.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep. So we're going to be doing those things. So I'm gonna see you guys out of the room, and Brian and I are going to close it out. You can hang around and chat for a few minutes afterwards if you like. Thank you guys for coming on tonight. That was terrific. You did a great job. Good luck with the season. This is a lot of fun, and we really appreciate you participating in ROBOTICON Live. So this will be an interesting experience where I get to pop people out of here while I'm chatting and trying to make it look super casual. And look at there, we're back. Look at that. So that was awesome. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I loved it.
That was great.
It was a great way to be able to get the insights on what the kids were thinking and how they wanted to go about their presentation, and have them go through and talk to each other on what they liked and what they think could have improvement on each other. A great form of peer review.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe we need to do more peer review. I think that's fun. That's an opportunity. We always try to get them to network with each other to talk to each other. Maybe they need to do some more peer review and share back and say, that was cool, but I didn't, I missed this part, or this is missing, or I think this would be helpful. That's pretty cool. So, we just added a new element.
Hey, look at that. The entire peer review section.
There we go. Well, thank you, Brian. This was awesome tonight. Thank you to those who watched this. This video will be archived with the others on the ROBOTICON website, and it's on YouTube and Twitch and all that good stuff. So thank you to those who watched tonight, and we'll be back again in another couple weeks, probably with the Innovation Challenge to see what students have submitted there. So thank y'all, and good night.
Yeah, have a good night.